What the? Uh, no. How did the? No. 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 You don't understand. No. 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 I'm not going. No. 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 No! As you may or may not know, the online store for the Nintendo Switch has a bit of a shovelware problem. And I'm not just talking barely games like Waifu Impact or that trash Popeye game that got delisted. I'm talking shit like, just perusing the new releases on December 4th, 2023, Hentai World, which appears to be a bundle of a bundle of a bundle before I stopped counting. It is endlessly rebundled with its own free DLC so that it keeps getting pushed back into new releases. Dry Paper Doll, a rudimentary gameplay-less dress-up game. Notes, a friggin' notepad app like this was a smartphone, and which also is only on the new releases page because it was bundled with its own free DLC to clog up the store. Basketball Arcade, where the screen is friggin' sideways because they're not even trying to disguise this was made for phones. Witch's Potion water sorting puzzle that you can find a million places for free on phones. It's a never-ending nightmare. Hell, guess how many calculator apps are on the Nintendo eShop being sold alongside actual games? Guess! At time of recording, 67 search results. Although most of these seem to be endless re-releases of clocks, which, yeah, Nintendo Switch games that are literally just a clock display with nothing to do, 90 search results! My god! That Arkham Knight port that both looks and runs like burning trash seems alright now, don't it? No. But one particular bit of shovelware that was brought to my attention recently is a bit more meaningful. It's a game called 1912 Titanic Mystery. And if you're wondering why I seized on this one particular game out of the mountains of trash, it's because I reviewed this game 10.5 years ago! Back when it was a full release game on the Wii! Yeah, I got it from the library and it had its own disc and everything. And now it's a brand new download-only title on a console 2 generations later with a $10 price tag regularly knocked down to $2. How the mighty have fallen. Or rather, how the mighty have no business still being around. So screw it. I just got done with 2 super long review subjects. I can play this shit again for a quick video. I guess I could just re-upload the original years-old video with a cheap filter over it or something. But I can't do that. I'm a good creator.
This week marks the 100th anniversary of the tragic sailing of the RMS Titanic, the supposedly unsinkable luxury liner that struck an iceberg and sank during its maiden voyage in 1912.
Okay, it's been several years since I popped in the original, but I remember that opening dialogue not being that shitty. It sounds like an AI or text-to-speech is doing the opening here when the original had an actual actress. What the hell?
The anniversary is being commemorated by the launching of the Titanic II, a replica of the original cruise ship which at its time of unveiling.
Well, it says press the right trigger to skip, so skip. Skip! Skip! Are you proud of the AI rating? Why the hell can't I skip? Whatever, enter in my name. Let's get this show on the road and click OK. What? Click! Click! Click, damn you! What in the hell? I'm stuck on this menu. It looks like the done button is selected, but I can't click it. I'm pressing every freaking button on the controller and nothing's oh! What? Okay, so because this game was designed to be played with a Wii remote pointer, and before that I suspect a mouse cursor, the entire game is played by moving a cursor over the screen and clicking. Now, any moron who's played a game in the last 2 decades or so would have mapped cursor movement to the left stick and clicking to either A or B on this controller, but no. Moving the cursor is mapped to the right stick, the one that all other games use for secondary functions like camera control, and clicking is the right trigger. And I quickly learned why nobody uses the right stick for critical common functions, because no joke, my hand started cramping after playing this diarrhea for too long. Why is this, of all games, designed to be played one-handed? Let's just start the game. Okay, I distinctly remember all of these text boxes being narrated in the original release of the game, but now all of the text and dialogue except for the opening is muted. They stripped out all the voice acting from the original release. I don't know if they lost the rights to the vocal performances or just didn't want to have to pay the actors for the re-release, but regardless, way to make this shovelware bullshit feel even cheaper than it already did. I guess they had no problem using text-to-speech for the opening, but found some actual dignity for the rest of it. And I love how a text box pops up telling you to find clues to solve the Titanic mystery before they've given you any mystery. Alright, the premise of the game is that a replica of the Titanic is setting sail on its maiden voyage with descendants of the original ship's survivors. So the Titanic can kill all the people that it missed the first time? You play as a passenger who finds a bomb threat in a diary belonging to one of the original passengers. The bomber tasks you with searching the ship and solving puzzles to find the missing pages of the diary, exploring the life of one of your ancestors, and solving a century-old mystery. You'd think that would make for an interesting game. You'd think that, but then all the game's levels look like this! The entire game is a series of hidden object puzzles, and not good ones. Every stage is a lovely and eye-catching painting of the Titanic and its rooms that some jackass spent 2 seconds photoshopping a mountain of random crap over it. Just take a moment to take in all the butt-fugly photoshopping done in this image. The items don't even slightly blend in with the painted backdrop. Most of the items have a white outline from not being edited correctly, and there's not a single ounce of rhyme or reason to where any of these items have been plonked down. One of the suitcases is floating in the middle of the back of a chair. Multiple objects are just haphazardly floating in the ceiling. There's no sense of scale, so everything's just randomly been shrunken down to fit on one page, and the life preservers that you can click for hints look like yet a third art style crammed on top of 2 others. This remains one of the cheapest, laziest looking games that I have ever seen, even a decade later. They put 0 effort into crafting these levels. But of course I wouldn't be reviewing this again if it were just a straight port of the original, now would I? No, they somehow made this broken trash even worse than the original Wii release. There is I repeat, no option to zoom in on any of these pictures, while you could zoom in the Wii version. I'm guessing they took out the zoom so you'd be less likely to see all the pixelation and artifacting in the objects they added, because they got some crap off Google image search for the artwork of their full release video game. If you're having trouble finding one of the mandatory items on your list, then tough shit. You're gonna have to burn one of your limited use hints because you can't zoom in to examine the screen more closely. And if you're out of hints, well then you're just stuck there. And you can't stockpile hints either. You can only carry 6 at a time. Because it would just be cheating to save up through easy stages and barge through others. Maybe finish this abusively padded game marginally faster. There are also a lot of items like keys, combs, pipes, the tiny noodly little life preservers that have ridiculously tiny hitboxes and have to be clicked with damn near pinpoint precision for it to count. Good luck not being able to zoom in to make them easier to hit! Click. Click! Click, damn you! How do you screw up the most basic gaming genre this badly? Oh, and every single time that you click and it's not on a game-critical item, not only do you get an obnoxious banging noise, but if you click wrong 5 times in a row, your cursor is disabled. The game actually blocks you from clicking for several seconds if you weren't accurate enough with your clicks. So if you reach the frustration point that you hit in every hidden object game where you get stuck and exasperated and just start clicking everywhere, the game gets mad and punishes you for playing it. Because the act of playing in the first place wasn't punishment enough, I guess. Basically take a game that already sucked and do everything in your power to make it insufferable. Titanic Mystery is one of those games where my memory would always play tricks on me. It's not so bad, my brain would say. Bright and colorful artwork of the Titanic, soothing music, you're cleaning up an image, and lots of blue and water. You love water. The game's so relaxing and soothing. Yeah, until you actually play it. Finding items is legitimately irritating in this game, not just because there's absolutely zero consistency to the art, but because there is zero sense of scale. Just look at this dining room for a minute. Giant friggin' cheese grater in the ceiling, somehow bigger than the lamp that's supposed to be closer to us in this perspective. On the far back wall are a comb and a dart, both about the size of an actual human being, if this perspective is to be believed. That dart is the same length as the armchair right beneath it. Are these darts or Stinger missiles? And the comb is so low resolution that you can barely tell it has teeth to tell that it's a comb in the first place. Nutcracker the size of Freddy Fazbear animatronic, a guitar or cello or something in front of a pillar, meaning it's floating in midair. Cup on the lower right somehow clipping in front of the flowers meant to be ahead of it to imply that it's floating too. Bucket doesn't line up with the tablecloth, so it's levitating. That one single raspberry is the size of a painting, but it's floating in midair, so I guess I can't gauge depth. I could go on, so I will. Why is there a gigantic set of binoculars off in the distance? A minuscule airplane stuck to the ceiling, a flashlight the size of an entire support beam? There's a big-ass transparent gear with a baseball bat over it, like the bat is hanging from the gear, which is hanging from the beam. Little dwarf bicycle there next to another giant comb. And on the ground there, a giant 8-ball, barely smaller than a basketball, a tiny little briefcase, a huge tortoise dwarfing what must be a baby alligator, the tiniest chess set ever, and oh great, there are 2 clocks and 2 hanging lanterns in this level. I'm sure that won't get confusing. And what in the hell is that at the bottom? Seriously, I defy you to answer. What is that? The smoking room is one of the marginally less shitty looking... What is that? There's a solid yellow line going up through multiple surfaces off to the right. Is that a graphical glitch? In a single static painting that hasn't changed in 10 years? Yeah, it has to be a glitch because it even goes over the pliers that were added on top of it. What the hell? Items will be half off screen. I've seen items stacked on top of each other. The font is easy to misread to where I went nuts looking for a clown instead of a crown, and loads of items are made transparent for no clear reason. The sheer contempt for any sense of logic or consistency constantly plays tricks with your brain, and by the time you finally grow acclimated to the sheer stupid of the level design, you're pretty much at the end of the game. But not even that will prepare you for level design so incompetent that there will be multiples of a similar item to where you find one and it doesn't count. I need to find a bucket. This looks like a bucket. I'm clicking on the bucket, but according to the game, this is not actually a bucket. This level, I need to find a stopwatch. Is this not a damn stopwatch? Probably the same way that this apparently isn't a picture frame, even though it looks exactly like a picture frame, so I clicked on it because I'm looking for a picture frame! Or how about when you're tasked with finding flowers, but there are also flowers that are part of the background? What the hell? And then, to add insult to injury, about or a little over half the levels are the game forcing you to replay stages that you've already played. So this damned game feels padded to hell with no end in sight. I was thanking the Lord when I got to the part of the diary where the Titanic starts to sink, because it finally meant that I was getting near to done with this shit. Though at one point I'm almost certain the game said, go replay some more stages, and then brought up a set of stages I'd never seen before and would never appear again. And there are boatloads of text boxes where the text goes outside the boundaries of the box, or there are even diary entries where the text stretches to the sides of the pages. Even this basic crap they couldn't be bothered to get right for a porting job. The first time you play each level, you have a puzzle that you're meant to complete. And of course, no. None of these puzzles have jack to do with the plot or any in-universe reality to the ship. There's supposed to be 32 puzzles, but it's really only 12 or so that you're made to play multiple times. Like just swapping out the picture on the exact same jigsaw puzzle down to the number of pieces, and bam, that's a new puzzle. One of the puzzles is playing a game of Othello against the computer, and I swear that it's the same AI both times they make you do this. They just swapped out the color of the pieces and BAM! New puzzle. And there's a chess puzzle where you have to lay out queens in such a way that none can take any of the others. I swear the second and third rounds are exactly identical. They didn't change a thing. There's a puzzle they make you do multiple times where you click the pieces of a picture to move and rotate them, and it barely works on the new port. The hitboxes on these arrows are so messed up that you will constantly rotate pieces on accident when you're trying to move them instead. And multiple times I clicked one arrow only for the game to somehow detect a click on the piece next to it. Look! Look! How do you mess this up? Oh, and this clock puzzle, they don't explain a damn thing. You just click the number that matches each letter's order in the alphabet, like A1, B2, and so on. This is another puzzle that they just repeat unmodified and call it another puzzle because they were so bankrupt of ideas. But on the chance there's a puzzle you can't or just don't want to solve, all you have to do is wait 30 seconds and the game gives you the option to skip it with 0 side effects. The one part of actual gameplay, and the game doesn't even care if you actually do it. The story in the diary follows a single mom named Eleanor who's going to America to start a new life with her son William, and she runs into William's father Edward and his new fiancée Cassandra. Edward figures out pretty quickly that William is his son, and Eleanor confesses that she didn't tell him because they're in different social circles. Edward wakes up to how his new fiancée is a bitch only after his money and decides to get back with Eleanor, but then Cassandra poisons Eleanor to death on the night the Titanic hit the iceberg. Edward dies trying to go back for Eleanor while Cassandra and William escape on separate ships. It's not a badly written story, and it's a surprising gut punch when Cassandra takes over writing the diary for the last 2 chapters, but when you break it down, it's pretty much just Eleanor going, "Oh, I ran into Edward again, he's so dreamy, but I can't be with him, but maybe I can, but I can't, unless maybe I can." Anyway, the significance to all this is that you're descended from William, and the steward, the one character who didn't spout out who they descended from completely unprompted, is the bomber descended from Cassandra. The diary proves that both of you are legitimate heirs to Edward's fortune, and he wants you out of the way so he can take it for himself. And he pulled all this Riddler bullshit making you run across the ship finding clues because... why? Surely this was a much bigger pain in the ass for him, going around the ship hiding diary pages that could easily have been found out of order, setting up puzzles and making sure each location had multiple diary pages that would only be found one at a time. And that's just if we assume that the actual hidden object gameplay was an abstract representation and that he wasn't constantly running around dumping random trash over every location and making sure that nobody else on the ship ever ran into a trashed room before you could solve it. And just to cement how dumb this guy is, the final cutscene, if we can call them that, it's just silent text boxes next to static panels, has the steward express surprise that you solved his final puzzle and managed to disarm the bomb, when the second to last puzzle that he himself set up was giving you direct step-by-step instructions on how to disarm the bomb! Dumbass! You're able to follow a few basic step-by-step instructions with detailed pictures, but how? And I love how you're given 2 full minutes to disarm the bomb by cutting 4 wires and jamming a screwdriver in. Like the game thinks you'll look at this picture and go, "Durr." The bomber tries to shoot you, but it turns out the musician is an undercover agent who was after him somehow. So the day is saved, everybody congratulates you on saving the ship, and the game hilariously smash cuts to a pitch black "The End" card with a tiny little OK button sheepishly thrown in at the bottom. The game doesn't even play the credits unless you specifically select them in the options, whereupon you see that the credits barely fill up a single screen. And hold on, is that a version number at the bottom of the options menu? Okay, if you need to go up to version 1.20210922 for freaking I Spy, you fucked up at life! Your save file is effectively worthless at this point since trying to continue only opens a screen with a single level that can't be selected. Because why would a game built almost entirely around pretty artwork give you the option to view said artwork in, say, a free play mode of some kind. This kinda nice and calming artwork that they use for the Crow's Nest level, you can only see it twice, several hours late into the game. Which sounds like a petty thing to complain about until you remember the art is arguably the entire point of the game and pretty much the only thing the game has going for it. You can't even go back and read the entire diary as one story now that you've unlocked all of it. Eat shit and start over, I guess. Oh, what's that? You wanted to try the timed mode for a little bit of a challenge? Then you have to start an entirely new save file because there is nowhere to select that mode either. Oh, son of a bitch, I clicked the wrong button and I can't even cancel making a new profile. Eat shit! And I tried the timed mode just for completionism. It gives you 10 minutes to solve every single level. I don't care how terrible you are at these games, it ain't taking you no damn 10 minutes to beat a level. Not with hints anyway! So the timed mode is pointless. We're done here. I didn't even plan on doing an episode on this. My first reaction was an aggravated sigh and I tried to move on. But when I booted up this shovelware port of an over a decade old shovelware Wii game and I saw that it had somehow gotten worse, I couldn't hold it in. 1912 Titanic Mystery is a garbage, lazy excuse for a video game, bad even by the standards of its own genre, and the fact that it's back on modern consoles versus all the actual good games that are pretty much lost, multiple people need to get fired from multiple places for allowing this to pass. But now it's finally finished, for good this time, hopefully. Now I can get back to playing real games. Real games like Skull Island Rise of Kong, I guess.